Thank you to the Anah Highlanders. My uncle crossed the Rhine many years ago with a piper playing them over. Good afternoon. I'm here to welcome the families, friends, and loved ones of these students, and most of all, to thank those of you who made it possible for them to spend these years with us on this little island by the sea. Students, today I will finally cross Eden Street with you. You see, I've never really graduated. This fall, for the first time since the Kennedy administration, I will not be going back to school. I took a brief look at real work one summer and decided I wanted to stay in school forever. Alas, in the end, those deans and provosts and vice presidents and committees caught up with me, and today I graduate. What a long, strange trip it's been. When I arrived at COA nearly 40 years ago, the college librarian wanted me to have a copy of the college's history. I was a bit surprised that an institution barely 15 years old had a history. I was more worried about whether it had a future. The history was called Such a Frail Bark. It seemed an appropriate title. In those days, Kelber Hall was a hole with charred wood in it. The library was an old bus shed downtown. Endowments were for other people. Turret's dorm, yes, it was once partially a dorm, had showers that you knew not to take your shoes off to use. And someone had abandoned a car blocking the door to the Arts and Sciences building. The car was an automatic, locked in park. My first act of community service was recruiting half a dozen likely lads and lasses, and we picked that thing up and moved it to one side. When I got into my lab, I found that someone had left much of a minke whale on the table back in June. It was now a very hot August. The whale parts were looking for whale allies. At the time, my cohort of fellow grad students were getting jobs all over the country. They were receiving something called startup funds, often a year's salary to get them settled in new jobs. Steve Katona said to me, "I suppose you want a desk." I said yes, and a chair would be nice too. I got the desk. I stole the chair. So that was the beginning of a wonderful, wild ride. Faculty meetings ended at 5 p.m. sharp, and we retreated to a local bar to discuss education, books, music, art, politics, whatever. I was mentored by Steve Katona, Craig Green, and Bill Drury. Etta Kralovic tried to teach me about feminism. You can see how well that went. I got to be friends with Bill Carpenter. He even forgave me for putting a primitive AI on his computer that would respond to his every command with a PG-rated suggestion about what he should be doing. We fought together, sailed together, taught together, and I found myself teaching the best students in the world. We had the sea before us, the mountains at our backs. Look at us now. We have 2 islands, 2 farms, our own wilderness, a dock, a fleet of boats, real dorms, new classrooms, and still the best students in the world. There are people who will tell you that this human ecology thing may have run its course, that the future needs to concentrate, that the future needs to specialize. These are clever and well-meaning people, but I think they err, and greatly err. Many of the jobs that you'll be doing in 4, 8, or 12 years do not even exist yet. But as human ecologists, those specialists in generalizing, you'll be ready for them. I am confident that you will do well while doing good. The sea is still before us. The mountains are at our backs. We've been given so many great gifts on this little island. To own farms is to be tied to the seasons. To live by the sea is to be tied to tides. Summer and gulls calling on the roof of the new Kelber Hall, speaking of far-off islands. Autumn and harvest, winter and lamb watch, and the owls calling in the dark, hoping for a wayward chicken. Spring and bobolinks over the north fields, summer and mountains to climb, and new islands to explore. Autumn again, with a new crop of students, intrigued by the promise of this strange study of hope that we call human ecology. There will be new challenges, new opportunities, new hopes, and I will not be here to greet your successors in the fall. In the end, it all matters or none of it matters, but we have been given so many, many gifts, and we can join with Alfred Lord Tennyson in saying, "Come, my friends, 'tis not too late to seek a better world. Push off and sitting well in order, smite the sounding furrows, for my purpose holds to sail beyond the sunset and the baths of all the western stars until I die. It may be that the gulf will wash us down. It may be that we shall touch the happy isles and see the great Achilles whom we knew. Though much is taken, much yet abides. And though we are not that strength which in the old days moved heaven and earth, we are what we are, an equal measure of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. Travel far, laugh lots, love more. Come back now and again to tell me about that wider world. There will always be tea and scones. You have the sea before you, graduates. The mountains have your backs. Bless you all. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome my third oldest friend in all the world, my beloved colleague, my fellow graduate, Dr. Suzanne Morse.
Hello, everyone. graduating. Yes, John and I keep talking about, yes, we finally get to graduate. It only took me 35 years. At this moment, I must say I'm really overwhelmed with the feelings of how lucky I've been to explore human ecology with friends and family, colleagues, and students, most importantly. Forever challenging, often frustrating, and always enjoyable. So I'm glad that I can graduate with you today. I'm going to speak briefly to this class because I got to know almost every student in this class. And so I have a particular fondness because you were notable for your willingness to begin your human ecological journey with all your senses, with the tasting, touching, listening, leaning into, as well as seeing a singular and distinctive white pine. Although some of you were aghast by this assignment, I did overhear in the dining hall, my teacher just asked me to lick a tree and write it a postcard. Many of you, however, I think found a way to be grounded in a new place and to come back to your senses, which I really think our senses are the foundation of our learning. And I must say, one of those magnificent white pines stands here with you today, bearing witness to your graduation. Over the last 4 years, we have come into and out of each other's orbits and now brought together at this moment to celebrate your accomplishments as human ecologists. People who are willing to look at and be informed by our past, examine current practices critically, pushing for all of us to walk our talk, and practice the art of living well in community so that we can co-dream rich and diverse futures. Congratulations, be well, and in deepest gratitude, I really do wish you the best. However, stay close. Plant a seed, always, and know that the conversations are not over. Let's see what else we might actually do together. So thank you again, class of 2026. I have just realized there is a step that I didn't need to be stepping on. I would like now to introduce Cynthia Baker, Chair of the Board of Trustees.
Good afternoon. I am Cynthia Baker, and I'm a proud parent of a COA alum, in addition to being chair of the Board of Trustees. I want to warmly welcome all the families here today, whether you traveled 1 mile or thousands to gather under this beautiful tent on this splendid island to celebrate and honor each senior in their magnificence. And a special welcome to Bayo Akomolafe and his daughter Alethea, and to Kim Stanley Robinson, who themselves traveled long distances to join us. I want to recognize the two esteemed faculty who opened this ceremony to announce that they, Dr. John Anderson and Dr. Suzanne Morse, have been awarded the Distinguished Emeriti status by their peers. Upon retirements later this month, Suzanne will become Faculty Emerit in Human Ecology, and John will become Faculty Emeritus in Biology. Thank you to both of you for your extraordinary contributions to nurturing the students, the islands, the gardens, and the mission of College of the Atlantic. Today, we're also saying goodbye to President Sylvia Torti. While her tenure wasn't long, the impact of her vision, her clarity, and her leadership will be long felt. Sylvia, on behalf of the entire community, thank you for being part of this COA family. We wish you and Scott every happiness as you return home to Utah. And graduates, a few thoughts for you now. In our increasingly fractured and artificial world, community and authenticity seem increasingly rare. I hope you see COA as an antidote to these times. Your 4 years of OOPS trips, of shared governance, of living human ecology have required something important, a dependence on each other, a trust fall, a willingness to say, I need others and they need me. Relationships reveal and test who we are. They reflect back our best, and sometimes our not so best selves, our complexities, our capabilities. The aggregate of relationship, community, is COA's North Star. Likewise, authenticity is celebrated, not edited here. You have shirked a mold, shaped your unique identity, self-directed your education. You write and sketch longhand, you muck in the mudflats, you search for snowy owls on mountaintops. These, community and authenticity, are foundational to College of the Atlantic. They are our course requirements. But my hope is that this college helped you develop your muscle around connectivity and knowing what's genuine. And now that you'll bring your strengths to a society in need of both. You graduate from COA today with the gift of deep friendships to carry forward. Life is messy, but you have these 80 classmates to lift you. Graduates, see to your left and your right. These are your people. May your class of 2026 community deepen even more over time. May you come home to Eden Street often and gather and continue to grow together. We celebrate all you've done and all you'll become. Congratulations. Please join me in welcoming President Sylvia Torti to the podium.
Thank you, Cynthia. Welcome to all, and all are welcome on this very joyful day. Thank you for being here. Graduates, on this momentous day, we celebrate the culmination of years of hard work by granting you a well-earned Bachelor of Art in Human Ecology. On this moment of celebration and gratitude, I want to recognize those who have supported you. First, to families and friends, thank you. From experience, I know something about the journey you've been on as well. There is beauty to witness another's journey, both the growth and the growing pains that accompany the college years. I also know something of the pride you are feeling. I hope you know your support meant a great deal to the students graduating today. And to all those family members and friends tuning in from around the world, welcome. We know you are here with us in spirit of celebration. Before I turn the time over for others, I'd like to share a few thoughts. First, I'd like to invite you to take in the many colorful flags that hang above our heads. In this moment, as we celebrate the achievements of this graduating class, we also celebrate the global fabric of our community. These flags represent countries around the globe that our students call home. From Canada to India, from Ukraine to Japan, from Palestine to Eswatini to Argentina, our international students are core members of our community, at the college, in town, on the island, and in our shared future. We believe in a United States that welcomes the world not with suspicion, but with open hearts. Not with fear, but with friendship. These flags remind us that learning knows no borders, that diversity is not a challenge to unity, but one of its deepest strengths. And as we gather on the ancestral lands of Wabanaki peoples, let us remember that relationship is not merely an idea, but a responsibility, a value deeply embedded into the hearts of the Wabanaki people and the soul of Mother Earth. Not something we possess, but something we practice. We are grateful to our Wabanaki friends who have again and again and again welcomed us to this place, who've been open to new and renewed relationships. I say thank you. Second, I want to acknowledge the extraordinarily talented and dedicated faculty and staff at College of the Atlantic, these remarkably committed people who have joined you on your journey. Students, you know this best. They've helped open up new worlds of ideas. They've challenged your thinking. They've supported your development. They've kindly noted areas for improvement. All of that, of course, but mostly they've opened their hearts to your passions and dreams. Let's thank them for their labor and love that they bring year after year to making this college the extraordinary place that it is. Hearing them speak of their relationships they have with one another, their thoughtful and personalized approaches to pedagogy, and their commitment to you has been a great pleasure for me. Let us thank them. Another great pleasure has been the opportunities I've had to meet COA alumni who are living lives of purpose and meaning, engaged in work ranging from activism to holistic medicine, from research to teaching, from farming to business. And I've heard common themes when I ask them about their time at COA. Over and over, they tell me, COA was a place where the complexity of human ecological thinking was fundamentally generative to who they became. Being immersed in a college where the value of inclusion is paramount and differences are honored has shaped how they approach their lives in all aspects, personally, professionally, and politically. A college where disciplines are not approached as ends in themselves, but as a series of lenses best used to question the world. A place where they learned that the most interesting answers come from collaboration and crossing boundaries. Students, from my conversations with alumni, I can tell you that your time here has prepared you well, not just for personal and career success, but as an antidote to the negativity and hyperbolic contention going on in the wider world at present. You will carry COA and the values and practices you've embraced with you. Your presence will be positively influencing the individuals and communities you meet. Your creativity, your can-do energy, and your refusal to accept an unacceptable status quo give me hope. Your insistence that we continue to manifest our values and principles in ways that allow us to nurture relationships that make our place and our place in time better inspires me. Relationships. I've been thinking a great deal lately about this word relationship. Perhaps because commencement itself is a kind of relationship to time, to what has been, to what is ending, and to what is still becoming. A pause on one's journey. Graduates are leaving from one form of life and entering another. And so this moment relates many things at once: celebration and uncertainty, pride and change, gratitude and letting go. One of the gifts of this college is that it teaches us not to rush too quickly past complexity. It is the complexity and struggle that often teach us our most profound lessons. And in considering this time of complexity, I kept thinking about estuaries, places where different waters meet without erasing one another. Fresh water and salt water mingle. Currents cross. Sediment moves. Life thrives precisely because there is exchange, tension, and movement. And perhaps this gathering is a little like that, a place where endings and beginnings coexist, where multiple truths can be present at once, where we do not need to force clarity. None of us truly possesses a place like COA. Places like this move through time, shaped by many hands, many imaginations, many seasons of care. We are held by them for a while, changed by them, asked something by them, and then the current continues. You are leaving COA, yes, but COA is also leaving with you. In the ways that you listen, in the ways you collaborate, in the ways you remain accountable to communities, to ecosystems, and one another. This is human ecology, a living practice of attention, accountability, relationship, and response. To remain open, to resist easy answers, to keep learning from the changing world around us. One of the most important voices I've been listening to and learning from these past years is our commencement speaker, Dr. Bayo Akomolafe. It is deeply meaningful that you invited Bayo to join us today. That invitation says something important about this college. It says that your education here has not only prepared you to speak, but also to listen, to remain open to voices that challenge certainty, to understand that wisdom may emerge from encounter, humility, and relationship rather than mastery alone. My hope for you is that you remain open to the movements that continue to shape you, that you allow yourselves to be changed by encounter and uncertainty, care and love, that you continue entering into meaningful relationships with the human and the beyond human world, and that you never lose faith in the possibility that new life emerges where different waters meet. I celebrate you. I wish each of you courage, curiosity, and deep joy for the journey ahead. Onward we go. Thank you. And now it is my pleasure to introduce Iain Dzionk to deliver the welcome on behalf of the class of 2026.
Thank you, Sylvia, for your thoughtful words. Thank you all today. Thank you for the time everyone has taken to sit here through these long speeches. I'm truly grateful. This one will not be a long one. I can still remember when I arrived at the College of the Atlantic, COA, as they call it, and COA, as it should be. I mean, if the Center of Human Ecology is called CHE, then why not COA? So yes, I arrived at COA and met familiar faces from UWCs, but also some unfamiliar faces, some new faces from all across this country and the world. The whole orientation in my first year was fully packed. It was stressful. I remember this meeting in the Gower room, another one somewhere else, and then we had to go to Deering. Deering, yes, the faculty building in the village. There was an important meeting we had to attend to, but I don't specifically remember what it was. But what even is a Deering? I thought it was because of the deers I saw near the area, but I don't know. All these names were new to me. Davis, Tourette's, Tab. Tab is Take a Break, the cafe you guys might know or just have gone to a few days ago for the visiting parents. And yeah, it was crazy. But my time with the people I got to know grew. 10 weeks just disappeared, and next thing you know, I was doing B&G in the winter break, staying to work for $14 an hour. I don't know about you. I don't know about you, but that was my first real 9 to 5, more like 7 to 3, if you know. For $14, I thought I was making riches, actually. Getting the bag, I was living that American dream, you know. But a lot of the mindset also changed over time. I'm not so capitalist. But, anyways, I got to know different teachers, different people, the secrets of the bike shed, I think most know about. For those who don't know, it's a very interesting area at around 8 p.m. in the night. The bike shed was always better during the fall and the spring. Today, I want to congratulate the batch of 2022, those that joined along the way. Yes, the transfers, I'm talking to you. You're an important part of the journey. I want to thank the teachers that have put up with my late submissions, extensions, and also my early submissions. I'm not a bad student. But as you know, COA time is a real thing and has an impact on not just the students. I'm also looking at you, faculty members and teachers. I do have to say COA can be challenging if you want it to be. You decide your learning, you decide how much you want to put into your assignments, and how to build your 4-year experience at this liberal arts college. Understanding the intersectionality between different disciplines, music, sciences, humanities, and arts. And then there's human ecology. For me, I think I'm starting to understand it a bit more. For some, throughout their time here, it was a scapegoat for some vague, all-encompassing degree, or a way to authenticate one's passion, dreams, and focus into a degree. For me, at my time here, I have become more in charge, and I think these students here are also more in charge. And I think that everyone has dabbled with different interests leading to different paths. Some have found themselves in music, the arts, others are more literary, literature, big up the writing center, applied music lessons, audiovisual services, Zach the legend Soares. Then there's the humanities, anthropologists, philosophers, and scientists investigating on Great Duck Island or MDI with the Osprey. Isn't it just so cool? Well, with more excitement, but we have a research vessel right next to the ocean to do research, the Osprey, which is, for me, that's crazy. We're all unique, we're all perfect in our ways, and we all have struggles, but also the drive to do that work and get it done. As you can see, this is why we are here today. Thank you all for your time, and round of applause for the graduating class of 2026. And now I'd like to open the floor and welcome our first prospective student, Ella Rains.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Iain. Do you understand what human ecology is? When I arrived at COA, I had never cleaned and assembled garden shears or dead-headed perennials. I'd never tutored anyone in anything. I'd never skinny dipped. I'd never used a light board. I'd never done a charcoal drawing. I'd never left my family. I'd never driven a boat, not to mention at full throttle. I'd never written songs about sunsets and women writers. I'd never written a novel. I'd never paddled a canoe down the Penobscot River after a sleepless night, bumpy dirt road, and a tearful, blooming sunrise. On the water, our souls frolicked through the serenity, only pausing for the lightning. I'd never fallen in love. I'd never shoveled snow. Don't be fooled. Human ecology is not everything. When I arrived at COA, I did not know Diotima's ladder of love, or Derrida's trace, or Foucault's heterotopia. I didn't know how to identify Miracaceae by its teeth, spatulate shape, and waxy berries. I didn't know that friends here are family. I didn't know what they knew: Marxism, metalworking, film, stonemasonry. I didn't know I could cry so much, nor that we could laugh so much it would become a nickname. I didn't know how to paint with ink. I didn't know I'd get attached to a Circle K. Which is back. I didn't know cities could be invisible or time could skip around. I didn't know I would behold cenotes and learn how to tortear and gain 4 beloved families across the Gulf of Mexico. I'd feel my mind stretch and myself impressed upon. I didn't know our class would be such a force of artistic creation, merriment, and fiery political action. I didn't know we'd push hard against this institution's structure, even though it is a well-meaning one. I didn't know it would teach us how. I didn't know islands could become mainlands again. I heard someone say recently that students at COA have never known what human ecology means. This is not true. We understand cold breakfasts in a storm. We understand darkness cuando se fue la luz. We understand family is what happens when it's hard. We understand we are disorderly and passionate. We understand vibrancy is made when there's room for struggle. We understand that our studies defy categories, concentrations, or confinement. We understand that most of the time we do not understand. We understand the necessary forging and fraying of interconnection. We understand car rides and cheesecake and howling moonlit nights. We understand desperate negation, punk rock, and disrupting spectacles. I hope COA will always find its students seeking discomfort, celebrating experience, weaving new knowledge, and making a racket, because structures must cope with their unruly subjects. We understand what human ecology can do, so don't let anyone tell you otherwise. We are doing it. Thank you. And now I'd like to welcome the second perspective by the lovely Emmy Wahlström.
Thank you, Ella, for the introduction, and thank you all for having me. Hey, allihopa. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. Guten Tag. Kwe. I included that moment of silence as a placeholder for the languages I have not learned and for the languages that are disappearing around the world. I have a story from back home that I would like to share with my dear classmates, soon-to-be graduates. So, my grandparents come from villages in northern Västerbotten, a region in northern Sweden. They both grew up with the local dialect Norsemål, which is typically spoken by farmers and forestry workers. In trying to learn their dialect, I once asked my grandparents how to express excitement and how to say a celebratory hooray in their dialect. My grandfather answered that we don't say hooray. And my grandmother asked, what would we say hooray for? She said that in their dialect, hooray would sound a little bit silly. Instead, to express that something was really awesome, like eating a delicious reindeer stew or getting home after a terrible snow blizzard, you would say, "Det var inte så dåligt," which directly translates to, it wasn't that bad. So, using the dialect of my grandparents, I would like to say that my time here with you at COA has not been that bad. Waving to seals from a sea kayak, heating up rocks in a fire to make an improvised canoe sauna, playing tag with my host siblings in the Yaxina village park in Yucatan, and meeting you all. That was the best part. Or in the words of my grandparents, the least bad part. Many of you also did the Yucatan program, and some of our host families primarily speak Maya. Sometimes they would ask us, why are you learning Spanish instead of learning Maya? As someone who loves language learning, I began to wonder, why am I not learning the dialect of my grandparents? There's a popular story back home, a narrative, a belief that the Yucatan program helped me notice and question within myself. The story goes that dialect is bad and not worth speaking. My grandparents' dialect is disappearing. One reason this is happening is that the speakers of Nushemol, the dialect, don't want to be associated with the language. They feel ashamed because they have internalized the belief that Nushemol is not correct Swedish. Speaking it means that you're uneducated, making it a useless language. This has been the story told by the radio, by the TV, and by the Swedish education system. To control a group of people and to change their way of thinking and being in the world, their language is an easy target. I wanted to share this with you as an example of how powerful our thoughts can become if we believe them. Thoughts on their own can do nothing to hurt us. They just appear and disappear, minding their own business. But when we believe a thought or a story, these beliefs can colonize the mind, kill cultures, and make my grandparents' dialect disappear. The stories we internalize are like boxes. They become walls that limit and confine us. Our beliefs are the rules that we live by. During my time at COA, I have felt quite free from rules, choosing my own classes and being surrounded by creative and open-minded people. I have felt very little judgment from you all. Still, one of the things I noticed is that even though I felt free, I still felt judged. Where did that judgment come from? Not from other people, but from the boxes that I put myself in. I'm very thankful to my dear friends for helping me realize this, that I am my own biggest self-critic. I don't need to hold on to the shameful stories that limit me, like the ones that prevent dialect speakers from using their languages. So, with this speech, I'm not trying to convince you to move to Sweden and become speakers of Nushemol, even though that's a great option that you should all consider. But to draw attention to the beliefs that we hold about our languages, and first and foremost about ourselves. We're graduating, we're ready to face the world, but are we ready to face ourselves? As we go forward beyond COA, I hope we can undo the stories that hold us back and learn the language of our own heart, and that we look at ourselves with love instead of judgment. It's an honor to graduate with you. Thank you. Next, I would like to introduce my friend for the third student perspective, Paloma, Jofre, Videla.
Thank you, Emmy. Hi, everyone. Let me prepare this. Well, first, I would like to thank you, my fellow seniors, for giving me the opportunity to share my words at this ceremony. It feels like a big responsibility, and I really hope to rise to the occasion, but thank you. The world is collapsing, our ecosystems destroyed by the greed of an economic system that feeds on extraction for the accumulation of a few. Our brothers and sisters around the world suffering the consequences of colonialism today, more present than ever. Artificial intelligence and algorithms spreading resignation and the numbing of the soul. And faced with this present in which we find ourselves, I ask, is the struggle for the defense of life worth it? Is it worth bringing more children into this world? Is it worth believing in utopia? These are some of the questions that come that come up at dinner potlucks among friends, but not at the beginning of the night, of course. At first, is all laughter, and again, the question floats around, but how are you doing? I haven't seen you, it's been so long. Tell me again, what classes are you taking? Even though they saw each other just last weekend, because at COA, that's approximately a month. At first, people arrive with dishes full of food, and we mix everything together. The rice, the chips, the cornbread that Vera made, like Issa salad, with juju shakshuka, with the leftovers from Tab that Emmy brought, with sourdough bread from Bennett or from Emmeline, or on the best nights from both. With the miso soup that Neha brought, with the meat marinated in all kinds of spices that Iain made, with more tofu, wine, and laughter brought by the brewer friends. This is at the beginning, where every time someone walks in, everyone greets them with a hug, and we start with the ritual of the light questions. How was your week? Do you like your classes? This is delicious. How do you make it? Until at some point, a little cluster in the corner starts with the heavy questions. Do you see that email that was sent today? What do you think? Do you see what Trump did now? Do you see what's happening in Venezuela, in Argentina, in Bolivia, in Palestine? And that's what the heart tightens, and you can hear breathing go deeper. That's where reason and emotion become one. But that happens later in the night, when some people have already left and only a few remain, sitting on the floor, some with their arms around each other, others holding hands, some talking loudly and others in silence with their eyes wide open. There are still a few unwashed dishes on the floor, and anxious fingers dance over the leftovers, scraping the plates clean. There are some glasses on the floor, some with wine, some with tea, and of course, in whatever was available, mugs without handles, jars with labels still on them. Okay, and maybe some of the 1 or 2 Tab mugs. When I arrived at COA, it was actually very hard for me to find a sense of belonging. At times I felt very trapped, and even when I was surrounded by nature, I feel like I didn't speak the same language as the rivers, the hills, and the sea. The sea didn't say a single word I could understand. But the day that I cried for the first time in a food system class after a conversation about hunger, something changed for me. I felt an immense pressure in my chest. I was exposing my emotions in front of many people. Some of you were there. The class was no longer a place to theorize, to speak only from reason, from the mind. The class became porous, and through its walls came anguish. We were no longer talking about ideas. We were talking about people, about others, about ourselves. And I began to sentir pensar, or feel think, and then someone that I've never really talked to much stood up and hugged me, and others followed. And from that moment on, I understood that vulnerability is a doorway, one that invites us to recognize the other, that other who is not me, but in whose existence mine is woven. From that moment on, I began to find a home, a place where I felt held. Vulnerability is present in those late nights conversation on the kitchen floor. It is present when sitting on the pier at sunset. It is present when lingering by the red bricks carry on conversations and debate long after class ended. Vulnerability is present in gates, at community events, when we all sit in a circle and rise to lift our voices and say what we think. In that moment, you are vulnerable. So, to what it means to speak your mind in a world full of binaries and dichotomies, yet you choose to raise your voice. Meanwhile, contradictions fill the air in the room. Vulnerability is present within conflict, in every debate
that ends with your heart a little unsettled. Because how can the other person not think like me? Or how can they not understand me? Vulnerability is also present when we dare to become friends, to live with people who become your family and whom you might not see for a long, long, long time. People with whom you choose to share not only the vulnerability of living together and dividing up chores, which can bring a lot of conflicts, but the vulnerability that comes with that uncertainty that surfaces when we talk about this deeply, deeply unjust world. Because at COA, or at COA, we never have too much homework, or it's never too late for talking for hours and hours and hours about what we think is urgent. Here, I found people committed to listening so attentively, but above all, to questioning. So then, is the struggle for the defense of life worth it? Is it worth believing in utopia? Does it serve any purpose? Some of you who've been in class with me have already heard me say this, but I still find it profoundly relevant. In one of his books, Eduardo Galeano quotes the following: "What is utopia for? Utopia is on the horizon. I move 2 steps closer, it moves 2 steps further away. I walk another 10 steps, and the horizon runs 10 steps further on. No matter how much I walk, I will never reach it. So what's utopia for? That's exactly a point, to keep walking. And what I found at COA is companions for the walk. And no matter how much pain we feel or how much frustration we carry, there is an inevitable commitment and a strong, strong desire to create another way of inhabiting this world. And as long as there are people who are moved by the pain of others, by the love of life, by the desire that mobilizes every fiber of your being to want to create a common, livable home for everyone, then utopia is necessary. But this path is not solitary, it's a collective task. Friends, I invite you to keep walking and never lose the rebelliousness of daring to believe in a better world. I am grateful for all of you and the steps we have already taken together. Thank you. Thank you. Now, I would like to invite Neha, Panda, Leander, Abram, and Issa Pizzimenti to the stage to introduce our commencement speaker. So today is our graduation ceremony, and we have invited someone who in one way or another has spoken to our hearts. Bayo Akomolafe is an author, a teacher, a poet, a post-humanist thinker, a father, and the list could go on. Born in Nigeria and rooted in Yoruba thought, he has spent his life asking the questions that don't have easy answers, about stories, cracks, and what it means to respond to a world in crisis. His work invites us to slow down, sit with uncertainty, and find meaning not in the destination, but in the messy and somehow beautiful middle.
Here we are, under this tent, on this lawn here together, now. We've made it. Graduation, a graduation ceremony, a ritual. This is one of the few rites of passage that in this culture we have left. And to guide us in, and hopefully out, we have invited a mischief maker, Bayo Akomolafe, whose work sneaks into the skyscrapers of contemporary thought, and there he begins to court us out to the steaming compost piles and the edge of the frame, the precipice of dreams and of futures, perhaps the intertidal. There, like the gulls dropping clams on the rocks, his thinking cracks open the bivalves and binaries and invites us to go explore what is inside. And so I invite everyone, to settle into this moment, this strange liminal space that is opened by our being here together with our attention and our curiosity. I invite us to leave space for the unexpected, for the impossible, for the magic which lives in the edge of every breath.
What I would pass to you is not something that is mine to give. For I cannot differentiate between what is me and who are the microorganisms that are living in my body, who are using me as a host, and in turn allowing me to breathe and to digest and generally exist. I would love to give you a gift, but as I'm looking at this crowd of faces, I cannot tell who is you. Is it the air you are breathing in? Or is it the ground that is holding your weight? Or is it my perception of it all? How can we think of the world in new ways that do not adhere to logics of isolation and separation? Bayo Akomolafe raises questions that do not follow conventional logic. He is able to take our deepest inquiries, turn them upside down to see them from new vantage points, allowing us to think from underneath and inside out of our exact moment in time. Bayo Akomolafe has touched my heart, and I am so, so grateful that he is here today. Thank you, Bayo.
Namaste, everyone. I am honored to be up here sharing the stage with my fellow peers to welcome Bayo Akomolafe as our commencement speaker for 2026. It was very serendipitous how Bayo came to speak with us here today, in that each one of us up on stage deeply resonated with his work, and we are all so thrilled that he felt inspired to come all the way from Chennai, India, to be with us here as we mark this moment in time. The times are urgent. Let us slow down. This well-known line by Bayo, along with his work and the lineages that he brings forth, is an invitation into a place of deep collective reflection and recognition of one another as we navigate through these crises. Over the last 4 years studying human ecology, we have been exploring the interconnections and interrelationships, thinking about people and place, human and nature, and self and other. And through our education at COA, we have grappled with many of these questions. I would like to invite us, as we listen to Bayo speaking, to listen not just with our minds, but with our hearts, and to take this moment to slow down together and reflect on those questions about what happens next. And so with that, I would like to welcome Bayo Akomolafe to the stage.
Thank you so much. All of this is very nice, but I have a question to ask real quick. Who took out the heat? Is it just me or is it cold? If you think it's cold, just let me see your hands in there. Wave them like you just don't care. Okay. I mean, I was thinking they just dragged this poor African away from... Like, yesterday it was really nice and toasty. And then all of a sudden, I bet you by the end of today to be really nice and toasty again. This is a conspiracy. I'm going to ask us to do something, a ritual of sorts. But just before we do that, I want to tell you about something that happened overnight. I had a dream, okay? Can I tell you the dream? Can I tell you the dream? Okay. So, in the middle of the night, I started to, sometime while I was sleeping, of course, I dreamt of all of us gathered here. We were all here together, every single one of us under this beautiful tent with all these flags hanging. And for some reason, some adverse, villainous weather just rushed into the scene and ripped this thing open and started to carry each of us away. It was violent. It was cartoonish, right? I wasn't laughing in the dream. I want you to know how serious this was. And for some reason, one of us started to feel that maybe the antidote to this violent event is for us to hold each other, right? That maybe if we hugged each other real tight, we could stay the storm. We could push it away. And so we decided to do that. And dreams count, don't they? So I want to invite us to do this ritual. It serves two purposes. I'm feeling cold. Really cold. I don't dress like this, I can tell you. I'm usually fly when I dress. And the second reason is the dream. Let's see if dreams come true. So we're going to do this. If you can stand to your feet, find 2 or 3 people and hug them so tight, and just let's linger there for a while, okay? All right, that's enough. Was that good? The truth is, I didn't have that dream. It just always works still. Because you see, I look indigenous, oh, it must be sacred, and then food here. But I want to thank the members of the Board of Trustees, and please give a round of applause as I say these names. The President, my dear sister Sylvia, President Sylvia Torti, the faculty and administration and staff of this wonderful community, the proud parents and siblings of this wonderful class. Please put your... And finally, not the least, the class of 2026. I thank you, and I want to thank my dear siblings, Paloma, Leander, Issa, and Neha, for inviting me here. They had a strong spell to get me to this cold. To bring me down here. This is my third commencement address and my final commencement. This is the last. I'm not doing this again. When I got the invitation, I thought to myself, what a great honor this is to come speak to families and to the senior students and to the community. This is wonderful. And because I do this all the time, I started to think to myself, what do I want to say that I haven't said before? Okay? If you know anything about my work, it's raining, right? If you know anything about my work, you know that I don't say the usual stuff. I'm not a TEDx speaker. I'm not going to tell you can make it if you try, that kind of thing. Or whatever Michael Jackson said about looking in the man in the mirror and make the change. Or Gandhi said it on TikTok yesterday or something like that. I don't say all that stuff. But I really wanted to hold space for something that I don't usually say, or to say it in a way that I don't usually say it. And so I started to think about what other commencement speakers were saying. I looked at what Conan O'Brien was saying. It didn't really, wasn't really what I wanted to say. Steve Carell had some stuff to say. Snoop Dogg had some beautiful stuff to say. It wasn't my jam. I was looking, what do I want to say that is different? And so we came here, my daughter and I, Alethea, she's here. We came here. Yeah. She's rolling her eyes. We came here about 3 days ago, and I was still thinking about what to say. What do I want to say? There's like a lump in my throat. Something wants to be said that hasn't been said yet. Something wants to be articulated that is still being formed. And so I prayed to the gods, all of them, all the gods I know, but they weren't available. It's like they were too busy with other things in the world. And then I got this impulse to meet my makers. You see, the makers I have in mind are these 4 siblings, Paloma, Leander, Issa, and Neha. We had a conversation 2 days ago, right? And we sat with each other, and I decided I'm going to listen to these young siblings of mine. I'm just going to listen to what they have to say about the world, the questions they're asking. And I wrote some of it down. It was such a beautiful time. Issa was like, what is useful now to do? What is enough? What does it mean to do direct action? Questioning the whole model of agency and accountability that we've grown up with and that we've been habituated into as modern citizens. It was beautiful. Neha was saying something about, she came to, is it COA, right? She came to COA with a few questions, and she still has some of those questions as she leaves. And then she mentioned something that was really intriguing. She said, I feel the pressure that is being placed on us as individuals to change the world, right? She was rejecting and refusing that pressure. She said, I don't want to be the one to figure it out, right? Paloma said something about the frustrations of being pressured to be the next hero, right? She said, I don't want to be Che Guevara or Gandhi or Mandela. I don't want to be those guys, right? I think we are, and I'm quoting you exactly. You're smiling. You think I wasn't writing? I was writing. I think we are missing something important when we think that way, right? When we think we are the ones going to figure it out, right? Leander said he was going to stay with a loud screaming, that all he had to do was scream, that instead of articulate eloquent points, he just had a screaming in his head, in his mind, in his heart, right? So when I left them, speaking with them, I immediately knew what I wanted to say. It hit me with the cosmic force of a Will Smithian slap at the Oscars, right? I finally figured it out. I was like, yes, I know exactly what I want to say. And what I want to say is, it's not, after all, my 3rd and last commencement address, because this, folks, is not a commencement. This is something stranger than a commencement. A commencement, of course, is borrowed from a mythology of straight lines, right? Commencement means a beginning. So you start with the beginning and you draw a smooth, austere line from the beginning to a society that is opening its arms to receive you, to welcome you into its territory. But that road is no longer there. And I'm sorry to say that. this is the serious part. That road is not available any longer. The road does not lead to a society that is just waiting for the geniuses, for the successful entrepreneurs. I know this is what we are told all the time, but no, not in a time of genocide. Not in a time when kids in the Congo are going into cobalt mines to dig out resources for your phones to work. And we're learning about these eventualities and phenomena daily. Not in a time of AI, when the cyborgian algorithms that shape our landscapes are no longer distinct from our flesh. How many of you wake up in the morning and the first thing you grab is your phone? Just raise your hands. Exactly. Right? Not in a time of pandemics and epidemics and the Strait of Hormuz being closed and wars and hundreds of children dying because of bombs, and one of our brothers in the White House insisting that he's Jesus Christ. Not in those times. The world isn't open as it used to be. It's not innocent any longer, right? There's a monster on the road. A monster has eaten up the line, so to speak. And so, it's not smooth sailing from here. No longer smooth sailing. Let me tell you a little bit about this monster. I learned a story from the Wabanaki culture, in whose territory we sit and breathe right now. This story is about a demigod called Glooskap, or something like that. You know the story? Glooskap. And Glooskap is a demigod. He's a trickster. He's a creator. He's a giant. His footsteps shaped the mountains of Maine, right? His sigh is the weather patterns of this great place. Glooskap made everything. He shrunk all the giant animals so that humans could live and breathe. He is powerful. There's no obstacle in front of Glooskap. I think he's also the grandchild of Grandmother Woodchuck, I think, right? So he's a formidable presence, right? He does things. He's Superman. He's the Avengers, all rolled in one. And then one day he enters a wigwam, and there's a child in front of him, a baby. And the baby just sits and stares at him. Now, this is a superhuman figure. He's looking at the baby, and the baby is looking back at him. And he does everything to try to control the baby. He dances, he twerks, right? He claps his hand. He does everything, but the baby does not move, right? Out of frustration, Glooskap gives up, and he rushes out of the wigwam. He's crying because the baby just says one word, goo. That's all the baby says. And Glooskap, the mighty hero, is broken, and he runs out, right? That baby is everything that stands in the way of the hero, everything that stands in the way of the easy success stories that we've been told we inherit as modern citizens gestating in modernity, in late-stage capitalism, in the Anthropocene. All those stories are dying and hollowing out. That baby is also my son. My son is Kea. His name is Kea. He's 8 years old. He's autistic. And most of the time, he likes to walk around in circles, right? He just does this circle thing. Now, we have a home in Great Barrington in Massachusetts. And one day I was doing the dishes. It was 11 p.m.-ish. Alethea had gone to bed. Their mom was in India doing something. And I was just doing the dishes. It's my best moment for doing philosophy. I think well about Spinoza and Foucault when I'm doing the dishes. I needed some peace and quiet. But Kea is not the child you say, go to bed. You don't do that with Kea, right? You can't say, go to bed. No. He's not available for those kinds of instructions. So he's walking around in circles. I'm trying to think, and then this ancestral parental urge starts to, if you're a parent here, just raise your hand. Of course. You know what I'm talking about. That ancestral ritual that lives in your gut, it often translates as, could you just give me some peace? Right? Could you just sit still for a moment? Right? We don't know why we say it, but it just happens, right? Don't worry, when you're parents, you would understand what we're talking about. And so I felt that surfacing and coming up from my gut, and I was just about to tell Kea to just give me some peace when all of a sudden, somewhere around my throat, it metabolized as a question instead of an instruction. So instead of, Kea, could you just sit down and give me a moment to think? What came out was, Kea, why do you walk around in circles? Now, I'm a recovering psychologist. My PhD is in clinical psychology. I didn't need that data. I wasn't looking for more information in that moment. But for some reason, that's what came out. Why do you walk around in circles? And Kea, without missing a beat, he's walking around, see? And he looks at me, he's still smiling, and he says, Dada, there are things I have to do that you know nothing about. There are things I have to do you know nothing about. I left him to do his stuff, right? In a sense, the world is walking in circles right now, right? The circle is not the crisis. The circles is the most honest response of the world to its own limitations. The circle is the limitation of politics. The past is no longer innocent. The future is no longer available. And so we're all walking around in circles. The thing is, modernity has accommodated for so long that circle as a line. And so we thought we're moving along the highways, the asphalted highways of progress. And now we're learning, no, we're moving in a circle. And the circle wants to do something with us. That circle is a ceremony. That circle is the call to ancestrality. That circle is a call to ritual. That circle is a call to weird, radical accompaniment. That circle is an invitation to lose our way so that we can find it more generously. That circle is the event horizon of the unthinkable, right? The black hole of the universe. I like to think of black holes as the autism of the universe, right? Right, we are circling right now. Not because we don't know what to do, but because what to do isn't available yet. We're in a time when solutions are now part of the problems. When the way we address the crisis is critically part of the crisis. What do we do when the hero is part of the conspiracy of the villain? When the salvific path only leads to the same place we're trying to escape? That's where we are right now, circling. Circling in a crisis, circling because we're stuck, circling because something dense and powerful wants to come through, if only we make space for it. That's the monster. The monster is the circle. The monster is the invitation to lose the forms that we're used to. And so this is not a commencement. This is a ceremony of descending. This is a ceremony of listening deeper than we're used to. This is a ceremony of getting lost. The road isn't there any longer, but we have to make roads by walking, new kinds of roads by walking. I'm going to end with this beautiful story from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, one of my favorite books. Great. My crowd. What's the number that's the secret to the universe? Some people said 43. It's 42. I'm 42 years old right now, so it felt only appropriate to speak this into the world at this time. 42. You see, a couple of years ago, some scientists in New Zealand found a tree that was 42,000 years old. And when they studied the rings of this tree, they noticed that this tree was telling about an event 42,000 years ago called the Adams Event. They called it the Adams Event to honor Douglas Adams, right? 42,000 years ago, this happened. What happened? The world became crazy. UV radiation streaming in. There were auroras everywhere, shimmering and dancing and twerking all over the place, right? The world was on fire. Neanderthals were confused. Proto-human populations did not know what to do. And so what did they do? Some of them were wiped out and died. But most of them, our ancestors, went into caves underground, and they did something really fascinating. They did not serve in committees to find out the solutions. They did not create graduation ceremonies. They did not create companies. They did not create blueprints. They pressed their hands, their red ochre hands, on the cave walls, and they created art. And this was the emergence of cave art. The first instance of cave art coincided with a crisis that was so profound we had to go under. And because of their going under, we exist today. I think it's a time for going under, into the earth, to listen to the world anew, to find out new ways of being alive now, and to find out that the world is saying to us in the most ravenous, beautiful, fugitive way that the times are urgent, it is time to slow down. If you listen closely, the world is saying one thing: goo. That's it.
Thank you, Bayo, for coming to College of the Atlantic to share your mischief, your wisdom, and your invitation to all of us to get lost. I now have the deep pleasure of presenting an honorary degree. Bayo. By the power vested in me as chair of the board of College of the Atlantic, it's my privilege to confer upon Bayo the honorary degree of Master of Philosophy in Human Ecology. His name will join the distinguished ranks of honorary degree recipients. Thank you, Bayo. We are delighted for your contributions.
Wonderful, thank you. I have the honor of introducing our second honorary degree awardee, Dr. Kim Stanley Robinson. Kim Stanley Robinson is widely recognized as one of the foremost living writers of science fiction. He is the author of more than 20 novels, including the international best-selling Mars Trilogy, New York 2140, Aurora, Green Earth, Shaman, and the Ministry for the Future. His written work and dedication to the science of climate change and activism, his deep understanding of the human ecology of the Antarctica, and his broad range of interests and experiences reflect the purposes and ideals of COA. In 2008, he was named a hero of the environment by Time magazine. He was featured speaker at COP26 in Glasgow and the COP30 in Belém, and he continues to work with the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Robinson's novel, The Ministry for the Future, was selected as one of Barack Obama's favorite books of 2020 and one of Bill Gates' 5 great books of the summer of 2022. Robinson holds a PhD in English from the University of California, San Diego, and his work has been translated into 30 languages. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Kim Stanley Robinson.
Stan, by the power vested in me as chair of the board of College of the Atlantic, it's my privilege to confer upon Kim Stanley Robinson the honorary degree of Master of Philosophy in Human Ecology. Your name will join the distinguished ranks of honorary degree recipients, and thank you, Stan. We are delighted at College of the Atlantic to honor your contribution to human ecology.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Sylvia. To get the opportunity to come and speak at this commencement after Bayo, they didn't tell me about that part. What a great opportunity. I would like to say 42, but in fact, I've been coming to this campus for 44 years, and for most of those years, it was to bring our kids here to the Museum of Stuffed Animals on rainy days on Mount Desert Island. And it's strange how transfixing and glorious stuffed animals with glass eyes can be, to teach you about the fellow citizens of this island. I am a writer, and I have a book in mind that I have the title for, which I usually don't. It is to be called, if I'm lucky, I Married the Island. I can confess that my wife is not particularly fond of that title, but her mom grew up about a mile from here, and when I married Lisa, I married this island. I didn't know at that time how lucky I was. I knew I was lucky in personal terms in a way that I hope happens for all of you youngsters. But I didn't know about this place. I had to learn it by coming here, and I've been coming here since 1982. And I am a Californian, but I have to say, some trickster figure took a little chunk of the California High Sierras and dropped it into the Atlantic Ocean next deep for my own personal pleasure. And the more I've been here, the more I have fallen in love with it. And I'm a hard science fiction writer. I don't like fantasy. This is maybe the narcissism of small differences, but really magic doesn't work, and you can't identify the bad guys and cut them in half with a sword, et cetera, et cetera. It's really, I believe in science. I believe in the scientific method. I believe in science fiction as a mode. And yet, magic, I think, is maybe the only explanation for this island. Sure, it was a blob of magma 5 to 10 miles underground near the equator 500 million years ago, and in those 500 million years has drifted here and shored up against the North American Pluton. Fine, it all makes sense. Then 5,000 feet of ice was on this ground right here for thousands of years and shaping the granite in the same ways that granite shaped the high Sierras of California, the Himalayas, and indeed Antarctica. And my time in Antarctica has made me very well prepared for this afternoon. And this college is weird, right? COA. There's a lot of small liberal arts colleges to go along with the big state colleges, the land-grant colleges like the one I went to and love very dearly. There are a lot of colleges and universities, and yet this one is still different, strange. Why? Well, figures like John Anderson, it was great to hear you read this suddenly magnificent Tennyson poem, which I must say, normally, like when you see it on the cross down at Observation Hill in Antarctica, it strikes me that Tennyson was better with music than with meaning, but suddenly it made sense. And we met on the shores of Mono Lake in the Eastern Sierra. Some 10 to 15 years ago, he had a bunch of COA kids out there to see Mono Lake, which is another caldera, but it's only 500,000 years old instead of 500 million. So all these things come together, and I think this college is what it is because this place, and this is very much human ecology, the place made the college. There were the people, they did great things to make this college come together as a space for you all to make your lives and have a good time for 4 years. And that's valuable in and of itself in a way that can't really be transcended or defined. But how it happened is mysterious and beyond the individual efforts, there's something about this island. So I would just say to you, come back. Hang with your friends that you've made. Don't lose them as time goes by. And when you come back to the island, there will be some vibe and return to your past. When I graduated, one of the commencement speakers was Herbert Marcuse, who was telling us about what it was like to take a wheelbarrow full of Deutschmarks down to buy a loaf of bread in the early 1920s. So time is somehow fast, and the generations are squoze together. So you can talk about 500 million years, but you can also talk about a century of accelerating change in human life, and it's as Bayo said. The road's not there, but it is going to be interesting. And if you keep this island in your mind and your hearts, and if you come back, it will be a good thing for you. So I am lucky to come back. I'll come back. The more I come back, in fact, I'm planning to move here if I can get away with it. And that would mean that I didn't have to come back, but I could actually be here in my last year. So that would be a blessing. So this means a lot to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now, the moment. Miss Chairwoman, the candidates who will come before you today include students who have completed all their requirements for graduation and those students who will finish their research projects in the summer or the autumn. The academic deans, registrar, and faculty of College of the Atlantic enthusiastically recommend that the following students receive the degree of Bachelor of Art in Human Ecology. The flowers that the candidates will present to each other symbolize the experience and affection they have shared at College of the Atlantic. I'd first like to call Sierra Morgan Abrams.
Finn Alvord.
Favriel Ava Armstrong.
Isabel Georgiana Arnold.
Timothy Gabriel Barker Plotkin.
Bridget Ann Beal.
Elizabeth Eden Bliss. Skylar Ren Bodio Lamaki.
Adrian Tusa Boya.
Jacqueline Rose Brooks.
Iosvani Cabrera Naranjo.
John Patrick Canny Colsini.
Hannah Clatterbuck.
Kira Connolly.
Kelly Ann Curran.
Carolina de Oliveira Castro.
Delphine DeMazy.
Ruby the Wild. Wujdan Dweeb.
Caden Diggs.
William Leopold Draxler.
Iain Walton Ocheng Dzionk.
Dasha Esteban Markovic.
Addison June Schlake Festel.
Magnolia Kate Gaddis.
Evelyn Olive Gillett.
Layla Hamuda.
Zane Harrell.
Archer Edwin Thorsell Hill.
Paloma Jofre Videla.
Mila Ray Kastenbaum.
Lane Dahlia Kirk.
Conrad Kortemeyer.
Andrea Kramer.
Ruby Kuchma. Leander Abram.
Nicholas Alexander Lapic.
Fiona Fairfield Lovejoy.
Aaron Rendell Maybe.
Gordon Joseph McGuire.
Megan Leanne Maloney.
Aiden Flynn McCoy.
Harry Tyler Metz.
Ren Moore.
Nathan Thomas Morgan.
Charles Lorigan Nadeau.
Haley Morgan New.
Sam Nguyen Jones.
Unje Mion Norris.
Lulu Soleil Niti.
Isidoro Uriel Orozco Brenes.
Neha Panda.
Autumn Lynn Pauli.
Abigail Jen Palakowski. Bennett Max Peters.
Adriana Patricia Polaris.
Issa Robert Pizzimenti.
Ella Beatrice Alexander Rains.
Hannah Lynn Rasmussen.
Catherine Renee Rasmussen. Jonah Paxan Rath.
Grayson Hancock Rezer.
Henry Sebastian Reyes.
Leslie Margarita Cedas Cabrera.
Greta Sensing. Arona Dara Swartz.
Abigail Marie Thornton.
Kathy Fook Tran.
Shay Autumn Robert Turner Matthews.
Kyla Vischer.
Emmy Teresia Wahlström.
Madison Lynn Williams.
Lucy Washington Woodward.
Asi Saiduto.
Sam Janowski.
Mabin Young.
Ellie Zimring.
Rutherford Lou Trevino Zalman.
By the power vested in me as chair of the board of College of the Atlantic, it's my deep pleasure to confer the degree of Bachelor of Arts of Human Ecology on all the seniors graduating today and welcome them to the ranks of college alumni with the attendant rights, privileges, and responsibilities. I want to thank Bayo Akomolafe, Kim Stanley Robinson, Suzanne Moores, John Anderson, President Sylvia Torti, our student speakers, and all of you who have made today's ceremony special. And on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the entire COA community, I extend my heartiest congratulations to the class of 2026. And after the recessional, please join us in the reception in Gates Auditorium. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.